3:33 here on KHTS. The Santa Cruz community continues to come together and mourn and heal following the Saugus High School shooting Thursday morning, which left two students, 14-year-old Dominic Blackwell and 15-year-old Gracie Muehlberger, dead by a fellow classmate at Saugus High School on Thursday morning. Thousands of people gathered last night at a candlelight vigil at Central Park to remember the two students who have passed away and others critically wounded. Joining me in studio right now is Saugus High School's senior, Zoe Jacobs, who was at last night's Central Park vigil. Zoe, welcome. Thanks for coming in, and welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
So how did you hear about the shooting? Were you on campus at the time?
Yes, I was on campus.
And were you outside? Because this was at 7:38. It was during first period. The shooting took place in the quad. Were you inside a classroom, or were you outside on campus?
I was inside a classroom.
Oh, wow. It's a disturbing precaution to take, but these events have become so pervasive, so regular. Active school shootings are a mind-numbing new reality that we have in our society. You guys actually prepare for situations like this. When was the last time you guys had an active shooter drill at Saugus High School prior to the event?
Recently, probably about a month ago.
Oh, wow. And you know, you could prepare, you can do all the drills that you that the school wants, but when it's going down, when it's happening, do you fall back on the training, or does all of that go out the window?
We actually really did fall back on the training. There's a lot of things that we implemented. You're supposed to lock the doors and barricade them, hide in as safe of a place as you can find, stay low to the ground, and keep the lights off.
So what did you guys do inside the classroom when you heard, was it just single shots that you guys heard?
No, so what happened actually was there was a group of girls that had run into our classroom and told us that there had been shots outside. So after they told us that, we all ran into an office within the classroom and hid in there.
Santa Cruz life coach Alex Urbina joins us in studio as well. And, of course, we're joined by Zoe Jacobs, who was inside a classroom at Saugus High School when it all went down. Were you familiar with the two victims who have since passed on?
No, I wasn't.
And the school shooter himself?
Yeah, in a sort of distant way.
Okay. How distant?
He was actually a friend of mine's boyfriend.
Oh. And you were in attendance at last night's candle vigil. You were set to prepare some remarks. It was a busy night, a lot happening. You didn't get a chance to last night, but you do have the statement with you today.
Correct.
Would you like to go ahead and say that?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zoe Jacobs, and I'm a senior at Saugus High School. I'm in 2 choirs at school, jazz and treble. This is our director, Miss Holt's first year teaching, and she's only 26 years old. All year, she has created an incredibly welcoming community within her classroom. She's friends with all of her students and opens her doors at lunch to anyone who just needs a place to hang out. On November 14th, I was in jazz choir during first period, like I would be any other day. We were working in the practice rooms, and my section was working in Miss Holt's office, which is known to be everyone's favorite room to practice in. About halfway through the class period, other students came running into the office. We didn't understand why until they started yelling, "There were shots outside, there were shots outside." Apparently a group of girls had run into the classroom, fleeing from the shooter and seeking shelter. Miss Holt told everyone to get into her office, stay low, and turn off the lights. About 40 of us piled on top of each other in a room the size of the school bathrooms. She locked the classroom door, and we anxiously awaited for her to enter the office. We locked the office door behind her. She was flustered from the running and adrenaline, and assured us that we didn't yet know what was going on, and whether or not this was even real. As she said this, one of the girls that had run into our classroom pointed to her friend, and said, "Miss Holt, she's been shot." This girl, Addie, who was 14 years old, had such an adrenaline rush that she didn't even know she was shot at first. She said, "Yeah, I felt something before, but I didn't know what it was, and now I'm bleeding." Everyone gasped and cried, but Miss Holt took immediate action, getting our gunshot wound kit and caring for Addie's 2 bullet wounds. Both of them were so strong and incredible. They were actually joking with each other. Addie told Miss Holt, "I'm going to be homeschooled after this." Later, As Addie's pain increased and the situation became more dire, she stated that all she wanted was to go to the hospital and see her mom. Miss Holt responded with, "When you get to the hospital, they're going to laugh at me because I put a Band-Aid over your bullet wound." All I knew in this situation was that I needed to get Addie out of that room alive. I had never met her before, but I can honestly say that I love her. I called 911, desperately hoping that someone would come to help her. 20 minutes passed, and nobody came. I called again. Nobody came. I called again. And this time, some other people played significant roles in protecting us. Jack Thompson, one of our choir presidents, guarded the small window of the office with a fire extinguisher clutched in his hands as our defense. Tyler Gladden aided Miss Holt by holding pressure on Addie's wounds. Andrea Karstensen led us in a prayer. Eventually, help came for Addie, and we were freed. After a long day of just trying to get home, I received a text from my good friend, Taryn Navia, who, as representative of Treble Choir, took the responsibility of accounting for all of our members. She asked me if I had heard from Mia, and if I had her number. I said no, I hadn't heard from her, but I would text her, and that I was sure everything was fine, and there's a good chance she just left her phone on campus. Mia never responded to my text. Taryn texted again, saying that our friend Cameron told her Mia was in the hospital, and that's all she knew. Mia is a good friend of mine. We first met in Girl Scouts many years ago, and then I kind of adopted her as my freshman in choir. And I found out that day that she had been shot. Both Mia and Addie underwent surgery and are doing surprisingly well and have returned home. There are so many people that were essential to saving my two friends' lives. This includes Miss Holt, the students I previously listed, our high school administration, every single one of the first responders, and the doctors and surgeons at Holy Cross Hospital. And there are even more of you whose support is needed by the victims of this tragedy. Every one of you can support them, their families, and each other in rebuilding their lives as well as our community. We are all survivors. I am so thankful for all of the support I have received, especially from my family and friends, and I hope the rest of you feel this way as well. I have always been an advocate for peace, and my heart aches to think of how many other communities have been shaking with the effects of shootings. 52 years ago, Bob Dylan asked in a song, "How many deaths will it take till we know that too many people have died?" This could not be more relevant today.
That is Saugus High senior Zoe Jacobs, who was in 26-year-old Miss Holt's choir room when 14-year-old Addison Cakeley rushed in, 2 bullet wounds to her right arm.
Has anyone ever apologized to you for what you went through?
Yes, my rabbi actually spoke last night at the vigil, and he apologized on behalf of adults who have not thoroughly protected us.
Well, I want to apologize and just tell you that I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
Thank you.
Because someone as young as you should not have to be anywhere close to anything like that. And it's a shame that we collectively as a society and the leadership of our communities and our states and our country have not figured out how to keep you guys safe. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We all appreciate that.
Yeah. And what a courageous effort you guys put in. I was just wondering when you were sharing about, the fear, because you said that you had been practicing and it just kind of kicked in, right, of what to do. When did it become real for you, and like the fear all of a sudden come along with the instructions?
I don't know that it really has even sunken in yet. I know that one thing that people have been saying a lot is it happens, but I never thought it would happen to us. And one thing that I'm grateful for is that when I was sitting there, I was telling myself, yeah, well, the shooter's not going to come in here. And I'm so grateful that, in fact, he didn't.
And did the fear come up while you were in that room in lockdown? Did the fear come up that he was going to come in to the room?
It did at first, but as soon as I found out that Addie had been shot, my focus completely shifted, and all I cared about was getting her out of that room alive.
So your attention on the fear of your own harm just disappeared because you went into trying to save her and be there for her.
Yeah, I had to figure out a way to get her out of there.
Yeah, and that's very heroic of you.
Thank you.
That's what we call heroes.
Thank you.
You're a hero.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Total hero. And Miss Holt, who had the kit, the
Absolutely.
voluntary kit with
That's
her
right.
at the time.
And how do you feel towards your teacher for helping you guys, being the leader in that moment and just keeping you calm and even using the jokes to kind of get everybody in the kind of mood that you guys can handle what you need to handle and stay focused on not going, into your head and letting the fear take over you?
I have so much respect for her. I don't know how she did it. I loved her even before, and I think we are all just amazed at how incredibly she performed and hoping that she can recover.
Well, Zoe, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your message. And seriously, very brave of you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, we're joined in studio by Zoe Jacobs, Saugus High School senior, and Santa Cruz life coach Alex Urbina. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. Stay tuned. You're listening to your hometown station, KHTS.